Hey everybody, just wanted to do a very quick video on the Q1 Hummer and handlebar stability. I've previously done a video on how to tighten up the folding mechanism, and just for example, you can see I've got some movement here forward to backward. I'm holding down the deck with my foot, and I can get some forward to backward movement here. I have mine loose right now because I've been folding it. But again, I did a previous video on how to tighten that up by this adjustment here. There's a nut down here on the folding mechanism, and if you tighten that as far as you can, that's going to tighten up your front to back movement of the handlebar. So this will be a lot tighter, something more like this. There'll be a tiny bit of movement still, but you can tighten that up really good. By doing that though, it might be harder to fold the scooter. So it depends on if you're folding a scooter a lot. If you're not folding it at all, I would just crank that nut up as tight as it'll go, and you'll get more stability on your front handlebar. Okay, so that's that. I'm not going to go through that again. I'll link that video down in the comments. If you haven't seen it, you can watch that. So now I'm going to talk about stability in the handlebar going left to right. Now you can see on mine right now, if I hold the center stem here and move my handlebars left and right, you can see I've got some movement left and right on my handlebars here. Can you get that good, Darren?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm holding the center stem, and you can see I've got some swivel to the left and right here. Now, there's two things. First thing you want to check are these two screws going down in this cap basically here that's going down on the top here. And you just take an Allen wrench and make sure you got the right size. Fit it in there, which I'm having some trouble at the moment. Okay, there we go. And then just make sure those are nice and tight. This one is. And on the other side here, you want to see this one over here?
Yeah.
And there's two of these here down in this cap that's going down to the neck. And just make sure those are nice and tight. These are. When I first got the scooters, I was having, these were loosening up on me during different rides. We do a lot of riding in gravel and rougher roads, so these were loosening up on me. I kept getting a little play there. With these two loose, this whole piece will kind of give you a little bit movement left to right. So that's the first thing. In this case, you can see that's not moving. The cap here is stable. My movement is coming just on the round part of the bar, going down into the handlebar stem there, the riser bar. So, but again, first check these two screws. If these two are loose, this whole cap will kind of twist a little bit. I tightened those down good, and it happened to me a few times. I had to keep tightening these, so eventually I got some thread lock, thread lock sealer from like Home Depot or something. It's like a blue liquid. You put it on you take the screws all the way out, or actually you don't have to. You could just back them out to some degree. Put a drop or two of that thread lock on them, and then tighten the screws down, and that keeps the threads nice and tight in there and helps it from not backing out. So again, that's one thing. Now again, in this case right now, you can see the handlebars moving left and right. These two screws are tight. The next thing you got to do is open up your locking mechanism here, like that. Now originally, you see I've got a screw in here right now. Originally, there's the hole that goes into this piece. There's a grub nut, just a tiny little screw, and it basically, if you can see, there's a slot in the handlebar, in the round part of the handlebar here. So what that grub screw did is, if you tighten it all the way, pretend that this Allen wrench is the grub screw. Inside this bracket here, if you tighten it, the grub screw would move closer and closer, and eventually contact inside the handlebar, inside that groove there. If you tighten it enough, the theory is that's going to keep your handlebar from moving back and forth like this within the mechanism. Problem is that grub screw is really small. You can't crank on it a whole lot, or you're just going to end up stripping it out. So again, we kept having the issue of that backing out and the handlebars doing this. So what I finally did is I took the grub screw out altogether, and instead I drilled a hole. I took a drill, and I actually drilled a hole all the way through. So there's a hole actually in the round part of the handlebar that's going into the round part of the handlebar. And what I figured is, rather than have a grub screw just trying to push up against the side of that and it keeps backing out, I drilled a hole in it, took a sheet metal screw, so the screw is actually going through the bracket here, and then all the way into the handlebar. So in essence, inside the handlebar, you have a screw going like this. So instead of something just pushing against the handlebar to hold it, I have a screw that's actually going into the handlebar through a hole. And when you tighten that down, as long as the screw stays tight, there's no way the handlebar can move at that point. So a couple things with that. If you do this, which if you keep having this problem like I did, I would highly recommend it, because you're going to get nice stable handlebars at that point. But you want to get a drill bit that's going to fit into the original hole there. You don't want to widen that out. I guess it wouldn't be a problem if you did, but try to stay within the size that's already there. And before you drill, you want to make sure you have your scooter standing upright, not on the kickstand, because it's harder to judge that way. And you want to make sure, because there's a little play in the handlebars like this now, but you want to make sure you have them absolutely perfectly straight where you want them. Kind of hard to do that and handle a drill at the same time, so it's best if you have two people and you have one person hold the handlebars tightly in a straight position while the other person very gently starts drilling. If you get a good drill bit, like a cobalt drill bit, you don't have to apply a lot of pressure. It'll bite into the metal. It's not that hard, so you don't have to put a lot of force, which would maybe make the person move the handlebars a little bit. So again, have somebody holding the handlebars straight, either from this side or from the front, where you can eye it out good. Make sure somebody's holding the handlebars straight. They could hold the stem down here and hold the handlebars like this once they're straight, and then the other person drill a hole through that bracket into the handlebar, and it's going to be inside that groove where the grub screw went. Once you do that and you have your hole drilled, it's just a matter of getting a sheet metal screw such as this and putting it in the hole. I put a little star washer on the end of it to try to keep it from backing out. And again, too, if you have problems with this screw backing out a little bit over, if you go over rough terrain and such, you could put some of that thread locker on it. I loosened mine up here just to show you guys the play in the handlebar if that's loose, or if the grub screw were to come loose. And now I'm just going to tighten up the screw. You can see it's going, the screw is this long, so it's already inside of the handlebar. And I'm just going to tighten that up all the way. Push that washer over a little bit. Again, you could use the thread lock on this as well. And then I'm just going to, there, that's about as tight as I can get it. And now if I hold the handlebar here and try to turn it, it's nice and tight. I've got no movement whatsoever. So that solved that problem. And then you can also tighten this screw a little bit here, so this clamps on good, but with this sheet metal screw in here, it's not going anywhere, so you don't have to have this too tight. And the other thing about that is this whole clamping mechanism is plastic, so if you were to over tighten this screw here, you kind of risk the damage of maybe breaking this plastic clamp. Actually, what I would do is after you get your screw in like that and tighten it good, that alone is keeping it stable, nice and stable. I can't move that thing at all now, but then I would put my clamp down like that, and then come around here and take a Allen wrench and tighten this down a little bit, just so it's good and tight. This clamp really isn't helping much because it's plastic. Again, the screw is what's doing all the work there. Again, you don't want to over tighten this, because I guess this piece here is metal, but the clamping mechanism is plastic. So if you over tighten this, you risk damaging that plastic. Bless you. So that's about it. We've basically removed the grub screw out of that hole, because basically the grub screw is just pressing on the handlebar in the screw to try and keep it from moving. The grub screw backs out. It's a tiny, tiny screw. It's not, you can't put a lot of pressure on it, or you're going to strip it, so you can't really tighten it. If it backs out at all, you'll get that handlebar movement. So I drilled that out, took the grub screw out, drilled out the hole all the way through the handlebar, put in a sheet metal screw, tighten that down good. And this thing's rock solid now. I will not get any movement left or right on that ever again, unless that screw backs out a little bit, in which case, again, you could put some thread sealer on it, or just get the proper sheet metal screw that's going to lock down tight on that. And that's it. So basically 3 things to handlebar stability. 1, if you don't like the movement like this, which is normal, there's nothing wrong with this, it's just that my folding mechanism, I have that nut down there loosened enough so I can easily fold the scooter, because we've been throwing it in the truck and taking it places. That's not a problem, but if you want it more stable than this, a lot of people like a more stable feeling, and you don't really care about folding it so much, tighten up this nut down here on the folding mechanism. I can't tell if I'm pointing to it. There it is. I think it's right there. Tighten that up as much as possible. Once you tighten that all the way up, it's going to raise that metal bar up, and it's going to make that nice and tight there. 2, if you're getting side-to-side movement. 1, it could be this these 2 screws here and this oval piece that sits on top of the stem. Make sure those are tight. If those are loose, you'll actually see this whole oval piece move a little bit. Once those are tight, again, you can use some thread lock on it. If you're still getting the side-to-side movement, and you can tell it's the round part of the bar that's moving as opposed to this oval cap here, that's going to be your grub screw. You need to tighten that grub screw down, or in my case, I got sick of doing it, so I just took the grub screw out, drilled a hole all the way through the handle, through the hole goes into the groove, through this bracket, install sheet metal screw, tighten that down good, and it's rock solid. Get no more movement side to side, and so that's about it, guys. Hope you find that informative. I know a lot of people have problems and don't like the stability of handlebars. That's what you need to do to solve that problem. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll have another one up here come soon. I've got one I'm going to do with the on installing this handle that I put here. This is a custom job I did. This is actually a Dualtron Thunder handle. I modified, made a special bracket to put it on there. So I got a video like that coming up, and then 2 other videos. I did one on the front brake pad replacement and rear brake pad replacement, so I'll get those up in a little while. Other than that, hope you guys are staying safe. Get out there, do some riding, wear helmets and protective gear, and have fun. Take care, guys.